Recently, I've been struggling to decide what to actually make a video on. I can't think of many interesting topics and stuff like that. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'll probably say no to a lot of them, but I mean, you can let me know if you want. But then I remembered, oh wait, I wanted to make a video about Xbox pull storage on old tokens and 100%. So, of course, we gotta do the usual what is pause storage and show examples and stuff. I might even start putting timestamps in my videos, I'm not sure. Anyway, I also have no idea how long this video is gonna actually be. So, pause storage in movie is the ability to warp to nearly anywhere you want, realistically. And it also lets you duplicate tokens. And its difference between GameCube and Xbox, this is specifically about Xbox. On GameCube, if anything, it'd be even more of a nightmare, but it doesn't matter because GameCube and PS2 are so slow because of loads and because of lack of lag and stuff like that, that even if I think we allow pulse storage on GameCube and PS2 for Hundo and old tokens, but they'll never actually. I don't even think they can theoretically save time, let alone realistically save time compared to Xbox. I don't even think they can theoretically save time, so we don't really need to worry about that. But this is about Xbox, and you might be thinking, well, if it's not as AIDS as doing it on GameCube, PS2, and run, then what's the big deal? But we will get to it. So, also, you wouldn't actually duplicate tokens on Xbox, like for old tokens and Hundo. So, yeah, it's pretty easy to avoid duplicating stuff. So you would just use its ability to warp nearly anywhere you want, although it's not anywhere. I believe for the fastest, you have a pretty limited time to warp anywhere, which means I think the most amount of scrolls you can get in is 11, I think, and that's absolutely maximum. I think so. Within an 11 scroll limit, I suppose. So it doesn't really matter too much, but I mean, I guess it does to kind of get into the point of why it's not allowed. Even though this trick can legitimately be done, it is not allowed for all tokens and 100% on Xbox. We just do not allow it. And so, there are two ways that you can activate pause storage. The first one is to fill up your hard drive. Every Xbox has an internal hard drive. About 4 gigabytes of usable storage. Legitimately, save files are not going to be enough. You need to use CDs and stuff, and then you need to make it so that it's you need to have just enough space left, just barely, for a movie save file, and then when it tries to save, it corrupts, I think. Or you can mod your Xbox, and then you can find the save data in the internal hard drive, and then you can just rename it, and it'll corrupt it. So what you want to do optimally is corrupt save file 1, and then have save file 2 be the one that you start a run on. So time would start differently. Normally we select no, but otherwise you'd have to start time here. That only loses frames, so it doesn't matter really, but yeah, I just mentioned it. And then at some point you need to save over save file 1, and then it'll fail, and then you have pause storage. So this is the any percent world record on Xbox, but I'm using this to show you what it is like. Obviously you wouldn't use the duplication. Also, in case you're wondering if there's any sort of any percent source requirement, that would basically be Xbox's early task unlocks, but more restrictive. And then you'd have to mod your console pretty much, because, you are not filling up that fucking hard drive legitimately. And even if you do, then your Xbox literally turns into a movie machine. 99.9% of people would just mod their Xbox. So you basically have to mod your Xbox. Anyway, so you can't two-frame tokens to do pulse storage. You have to sit through the entire thing. So it's like, oh, but it's making the run easier, bruv. My name's Jeff. But no, you gotta look. So, that text box comes up, unable to autosave game. They probably didn't test it, because who the fuck has a filled-up hard drive? So I think this carries over from, like, the GameCube and PS2 one, but they use memory cards, whereas with the Xbox, you just use the internals. So basically, Heavy Iron didn't test it properly, or if at all. I highly doubt they did it at all. So now, if you press start in the state, you'll be able to move around while the menu is open, right? And here's the thing, too. So the way that this works is that when you... Hold on. Okay, never mind, false alarm. Okay, so when you... So in this menu state, right? So what Sky does is warp to the first task. However, when that happens, they are going to press start again to bring up another menu, right? So even though, so you know when the game is like, all right, you asked for it, it takes like a second to transition to the load screen. In that time, you can open the menu again and then scroll as much as your heart desires for whatever you need it for. And if you do it fast enough, then the game, because the game is already determined, alright, I'm warping you here. Because now you're hovering over a different task, the menu is like, oh shit, I guess we're going here instead. And now Sky is in Natherman Area 2. So yeah, that's something. So... that may not seem too bad. Well, I'll go into a little more detail. To get, like, the maximum scrolls, you want to, like... when you open this menu, you want to press A to confirm, your warp. Like, while this menu is opening. So, on, this menu, you've already selected something, right? So, Sky pressed A, and the game is, like, warped to this level. Then, Sky presses start, which, then the original menu will say, like, are you sure you're sure? And then, just before this menu starts processing tasks, so, like, around this sort of area, I think, so before that, you press A to actually confirm, and then the game is like, alright, you asked for it. And in this time, then you scroll down. So getting the timing down is kind of hard. I mean, practicing this is a pain in the ass, which is one of the reasons why it's cringe. Like, if you want to practice this, like, RTA, I mean, like, you best just, you know, start a new game, like, do cheats, and just warp to a few tokens that are quick to grab. It's just, like, inconvenient and annoying. There is a pull storage practice mod, I will say. But then you have to mod your Xbox to be able to use the practice mod. And also that one is specific to warping from Depression to Natherman, because that was the hardest one. This is, I think it's 8 scrolls down. I think. Yeah, like Sandwich Driving, 3K, Rubadub, BBBH, Weenie, Frogfish, Rockside, Natherman. So it's 8 scrolls down, 1 scroll across, so almost as high as it can be. So it's pretty hard. And now you might be thinking, well, how would this, you know, like, what route would you do in all tokens in Hundo? I mean, can't be that bad, right? Well, lucky for you, this is the part where you look at the screen, by the way, if you haven't not been doing that so far. I have a notepad. How do I zoom in? Okay, hold on. Hold on, boys. Hold on now. Gonna make this big. Gonna make this, big chungus. Why did I say that? Okay. Alright, this is pretty big. So this is an all tokens pull storage route I theory crafted for like a day trying to figure this shit out. Because by far the worst part was the early game. That was so AIDS to try and route. And I don't know if this is as fast as it can be, but this was, like, under assumptions, this seemed, at the time, like, realistically as fast as it could be, but there probably are ways to make it faster, because in particular, the early game is really messy. So, how it works, right? Like, how this would work. So, I mean, you just grab no cheese, that's the same. And then, in Depression, you would do Creek immediately, just like normal. Except you don't two-frame the token. And the reason why this sucks is because in all tokens, like, as it currently stands, there is a route that saves, like, 5 seconds where you can do Creek in late game with lag clips. And it's pretty cool. And unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like we have the opportunity, because, okay, so I should have mentioned this too. You cannot, well, you have to sit through the entire token animation before you can do a pause storage warp, but you cannot pause storage warp out of combat arenas, sponge bowls, floating blocks, boss fights, end level tokens, like any of them. Well, I suppose if you collected the end level token. Yeah, if you collected the end level token and then like while dying, I guess, then you could maybe, I think. But I think the only ones you can do that on are like Dennis 2 and like SCDA end level and Nathleman end level. It wasn't factored into this routing. I kind of even forgot about them when I was making this route. But yeah, there's just like, so what other token are we going to use to like warp away? Like we need to do Creek now, you know? It's unfortunate, but it's true. So after Creek, you pause storage warp to the second task in Depression. So that's an extremely easy pause storage warp. You'll nearly never fuck it up. And then you unlock Cartwheel and the combat arena. And then you warp back to the beginning and get the end level token. Then you do Sandwich Driving 101. However, you go into 3K with not enough tokens. So we need to do Sandwich Driving 101 and 102 in a row, which is hyper AIDS, dude. Like, the whole thing takes, like, 11 minutes. Like, it's just cringe. Like, and Sandwich Out of Bounds, because no matter what, it's AIDS to do all of that in a row, right? Because if you don't do Sandwich Out of Bounds, then you're doing nothing for, like, 12, 11 minutes. And if you are doing Sandwich Out of Bounds, then you're doing a very toxic segment immediately. And it's just before 3K. Can you imagine the horrors of doing this shit and then just like missing 3K SpongeBob 2 frame or something and just fucking resetting? Like that is like actual worst nightmare. And I will say, if you are going to do the Creek lag clip route that I mentioned earlier, you need to do SD 101 and 102 back to back anyway. But you have to do it here without the benefit of doing the token in late game, because that'd be cool. But no, you don't even get to do that. But yeah, then after that, you warp back to Depression to get the bounce token, because now we need to pause storage warp to 3K, so that is just a couple scrolls down. Well, you warp to the bounce token, I think. No, you warp to you go to the bungee token. So that is like 1 scroll down, 4 scrolls across, relatively easy. But then Mindy will like warp you to the beginning. Oh yeah, I should mention that as well. There's a way to, like, when you load into 3K, Mindy will start talking to you, but if you pause right after skipping that cutscene, before Mindy tries to talk to you, it'll let you warp away faster, and when you come back, the game thinks that you're in the first instance of the level again. And because of that, even though we warped to Bungie, we actually are at the very beginning of 3K so that we can unlock Bash, and then we kill ourselves because we're still checkpointed to Bungie. So we do Bungie, and then afterwards, you know, we do Bounce. And then after that, you can just pause storage warp to Sponge Bowl. If you somehow fuck up the menu and you can just walk to it. And then you pause storage warp. Wait, hold on. Wait, I think I fucked this up. Wait, hold on. Yeah, that seems like... I feel like I fucked up the order of this, but I think you would do Bungee to Sponge Ball, then warp back to Bungee, and then do Bounce, and then pull Storage Warp to Floating Block, and then you don't get the 2-frame token from that. And you grab the end level token. And then I have a thing I call Stuff, which is just stuff that doesn't really change. Which is the first Rub token, the first BBBH token. Weenie, Rub 2, load into Frogfish, because we need to come back and do it later, because again, just like, just complicate, you know, it's just complicated, like, struggling to, you know, fit it all in. So we gotta Oyster load in Frogfish. Weenie 2, and then, you warp to Steamed. I don't know where you would get the warp to do that. Yeah, I don't know what I think this is slightly fucked. This will further prove a later point, though. But I guess at some point you gotta figure out how to warp to Steamed. Or maybe you're supposed to grab the warp after Floating Block. Maybe. Yeah, and then you gotta warp to Netherman. So you gotta, like, pull Storage Warp to Netherman Bungee. Because you have enough of balls, so you gotta grab it. So, what that would do then, so you'd have to warp from 3K. So, Rubber Dub is 1, BBBH is 2, Weenie is 3, Frogfish is 4, Rockslide is 5, Netherman is 6. And then to Bungee, that is 10 scrolls. So, to do this, you need to play absolutely fucking perfect. And you might be thinking, well, you know, couldn't you warp from, like, somewhere else? But, like, not really, no, because the only other, like, thing you could do, like, what is closer to the menu that you can actually pull a Storage Warp from? BBBH. But then, how do you get to fucking the disco? I mean... Well, I think the way that you'd have to do this, actually, because I think I fucked it up again. Wait, no, I think I know how this would work. But then it fucks pause storage warping later in the run, I think. Yeah, it does. It fucks... Yeah, no, so it fucks everything. I was about to say, you could warp from Steamed to Disco. And then you could do BBBH and other one, but, like, then it fucks the pulse, so I don't even know if you can do that. But anyway... Then you go warp to Floating Block, that's easy peasy. Then Chris a Monster, that's whatever. And then... You warp to... Cirque, but it drags you to the beginning of SCDA. So you die, you get throw, die, and then do Cirque, and then you do 3 meter... Pull storage warp to Floating Block, grab the token, like, naturally, and then do the end level token. Then you do Dennis. Yeah, well, it's just stuff too. You can't do shit with that. Then Plank. You have Guitar at this point, so you can do lag clips. So you grab the Ice token, which you will get pull storage from, so you can use that to warp to Bungee. But if you somehow fuck it up, you can just walk to Bungee. You won't lose that much. And then, you don't even need to pull storage warp to combat. You can, like, I mean, it'd be a little faster, but you can do the lag clip if you fuck it up somehow. Then, you can warp to Guitar, SCDA Guitar, because that actually naturally unlocks when you unlock Guitar. And then you use that to pull storage warp to Sponge Ball, and if SCDA Sponge Ball, and if you somehow fuck it up, then you can walk there. Then stuff 3, which is Frogfish, Rock Slide 1 and 2. Again, we gotta waste a load in Frogfish and waste a load in Netherman, because Rock Slide 1 forces you into Netherman. Like, and we need to do this shit now because we need the manlies and just like, bruh. Then Depression 3, Combat because we actually have the warp, and Guitar because we have the warp. But then you warp from guitar to BBBH fruit, and then pause storage or not, you can warp to combat. Then you can warp to guitar because you have that anyway. Then you use that to get the disco. Oh, wait, no, you can just go straight to Sponge Bowl, actually. Yeah, wait, no, so that does work. Yeah, so the way that this... So, disregard what I said earlier. You would warp from 3K Bungee to Disco. I think that's the only one that you can do. Yeah, so you'd warp the Disco to fix this problem. This problem routing. There's, like, no downside, really. Like, it's just making it, like, significantly easier. And it doesn't seem to actually fuck routing. And then you do, you warp from guitar to Sponge Bowl. Then you warp from Sponge Bowl to Now Men End level, but you can actually, because you don't need SCDA's warp anymore, you can actually 2-frame the Now Men End level token, so at least you're kind of negating one of the loads. And then you, wait, hold on. But then you don't... Wait, bruh? Did I expect myself to warp from the end level token to combat? Because that does not work. Yeah, I think I fucked that up. Oopsies. Wait, yeah, no, how's that gonna work? I mean, you can do the Patrick Death strat I talked about. I think that gives you pause storage, but I don't think I was thinking that when I made the route. I think I actually just fucked it up. So I guess you'd get... Either you'd need to fix a route somehow, or you'd have to do that, and then you can pause storage warp to combat. Then you warp to Plank Ice Skating, and then just get the bounce token. Use that to pause storage warp to Ball, Sponge Bowl, and then you have to do the Sponge Bowl and the end level token. Then you just do all the Knuckleheads and Neptune. Now, given that I spent like a whole ass day routing it, and I still got like 3 things wrong, you know, that should kind of tell you a lot. So one of the problems with this is how fucking horrible this is to actually route. Like, it's a pretty complicated thing, you know. In a lot of games, it's like, oh yeah, you know, eventually people are just gonna find faster routes. Have you seen Simpsons Hit and Run 100%? It gets a new route every 5 seconds. But, like, this is different because nobody understands pause storage. And this game is more niche and specific, and, like, yeah, it's actually a disaster, because, like... And, see, that's the thing, right? Because this route, it wastes a load in 3K, and then, like... I have to, like, die in 3K. It made, like... Because the whole point was to skip walking from the beginning of 3K to the fucking Bungee token. Like, all of this aids is for that. But, like, we need to warp from Creek. And, like, yeah, again, it's just, like... But I don't know for sure if some things are fast or not. Like, I think in my head, like, would it be better to warp from Bounce early to, like, BBBH or something, and then get enough tokens and then go to 3K? Because that might sound smart, but then you waste a load anyway because you have to go to 3K from Sandwich Drive-In 1 regardless. So I'm pretty sure that this is as fast as it can get, even though it's fucking, like, nonsense. And, like, you know, this whole thing's a mess, and, like, there's so many pause storage warps. Like, this is 1, right, and then this is 2, and then, like, 3, 4, 5-ish, and then that's, like, 6, and then you do disco, so that's, like, 7, and then, like, 8, and then fucking 9... 10, 11, and yeah, there are a lot of instances where you can, like, if you miss the pause storage warp in 3 meter, like, if you just accidentally close the menu early, or if you accidentally warp back to 3 meter, for example, then you could just cartwheel over the floating block. It won't lose that much. But, like, what happens if you fuck it up so bad you accidentally warp to fucking Sponge Bowl? Then what? you wasted your pause storage warp. Although I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. I'm trying to, like, build this up. And, like, there's just a lot of instances of no longer being able to two-frame tokens and wasting a shit ton of loads. And just a lot of strings of just not really doing anything interesting anyway. Like, you know, you can make this work. Pause storage would barely save time in Plank. But then when it gets to, like, this sort of area, like, that's when it, like, you have to do pause storage warps really late. And again, with Now the Man, I fucked up the end level. Like, I don't know what to do about that. I guess you could probably grab the token early, but what if you miss? Run's instantly dead. Because how else are you going to get to combat? Well, you're going to warp back to the beginning of Now the Man and take, like, an entire minute to walk to combat. That's not going to fly after your first couple runs. And that's what I mean, like... So that's, like, the first point, is that this route is insanely complicated. In comparison to literally just fucking... Like, how basic it is now. You know, Creek is the same as we know it. Like, sandwich driving, then you do 3K. It's pretty basic. And then sandwich driving again. And then it's just, like, a more straightforward path. And you could argue, like, oh yeah, but all tokens' routing is boring. But, like, Hundo's routing is a lot more interesting. And you could say, what about Hundo pause storage? But I will get to that. But just this. This is fucking stupid. If you miss the pause storage warp, like, when there's only a few tokens left to collect, there is a good chance that the run is just dead. And there are some things like that in speed games, but, like, this is more naturally toxic in that regard. Like, the timing of, like, when to open the menu isn't too hard, but it's still stupid. Like, imagine you just accidentally flick the stick the wrong way, or you because the menu is not... The menu, if you do inputs too fast, the game will just eat your inputs on the menu, like your scrolls. So you can't do inputs too fucking fast. And, like, going from scrolling down to immediately scrolling right is legitimately hard. And it's just getting rid of 2 frames, adding a shit ton of loads, and skipping movement. So, whenever... Okay, so, yeah... Pause storage can be a little difficult, but what it's doing the vast majority of the time is adding loads, not being able to skip token animations, so in that sense making it easier, because you can't two-frame with a bunch of tokens, and then skipping movement. So, overall, it's probably making the run easier. However, the thing that is replacing the difficulty is toxic. That's the problem. This is toxic. Like, if you miss Bounceless, you might want to reset, because it loses, like, 7 to miss. But, like, it isn't just like, oh yeah, no, the run is dead. Like, I literally cannot do anything. Like, and Bounceless is easy. This is like doing Bounceless, like, fucking 10 plus times. Like, you're gonna miss it eventually, you know what I mean? So it'd just be toxic to get a run going, and the routing, you're clumping more fillery things together. That is also another problem. And also, like, so... Also, another thing as well is that it absolutely fucking annihilates the manly route. In this category, you can barely get enough as is. And this is going to make it way worse. Now the Man Tunnel gives you a fuck ton of manlies, and we're skipping it all. We're delaying Rock Slide by a lot. You know? Like... And you could do Rock Slide 1 early, maybe. But, like... Like, no matter what you do, it just sucks. And that's another thing as well. This is, like... This would be very hard for somebody to actually learn and get into. Because, like, I don't even know how much this was saved because of, like... But honestly, my estimate is kind of just, like, a few minutes. Like, literally, like, 3 minutes. Or 2 minutes. And that is enough to where at the higher level, you feel like you have to do it. You know, saving close to the amount of rub-a-dub skip. Like, you'd feel kind of obliged to do this. Especially when some of the warps are quite easy. And you can just do some and then not all, but then it's complicated to route, and then and then you're discouraged from routing it because it's like fucking... And timing any other route would be such a massive pain in the ass. Because if you fuck up the warp once and then you go to like quit game, start a new game, and fucking like do the whole thing again until you get back there, you could try it again. It is an actual nightmare. And I mean, yeah, I've said a lot of the points. I mean, it's toxic. It removes difficulty and in the worst ways and adds difficulty in the worst ways. It would be very hard to get into. It saves so little that it's like, bruh, but it also saves so much that it's like, bruh. Like, it'd be way harder to get into, and again, like, if you're replacing movement and tricks, like, it removes Spew Boost, for example. If you're removing movement and tricks for, like, this AIDS warping, that, like, even if you do it a tiny bit slower than somebody else, it's not, I mean, yeah, by the end, it'll pile up a little bit, but it won't be nearly as bad as, like, missing a few tricks or having bad movement. Like, this benefits players with bad movement. And the better your movement is, like, the more cringe this shit is. Because, like... Well, again, it's skipping, like, all of Natherman Tunnel, like, the literal entire thing. It's skipping, like, a lot of Junkyard. It's skipping quite a few bits of Plank. It's just skipping movement. And early task unlocks has that issue too, but at least it doesn't have fucking pause storage, where if you miss menu once, it runs instantly dead. No, I mean, you could just warp out of the... You could just fucking... I mean, if you miss menu, it's just like a few seconds. And, like, that category is also like 40-something minutes long. So it's automatically not, like, you know... Like, this is, like, hyper AIDS. And... yeah. And again, it's like clumping a ton of stuff together that's just gonna, like, kind of... You know, you have to do Weenie 2 early. Who the fuck wants to do Weenie 2 before Now That We're Men? Are you insane? And it's like, yeah, oh yeah, but Now That We're Men isn't as hard anymore. It's like, yeah, but again, like, it's been... The difficulty in Now That We're Men has been replaced with something that is just worse. Yeah, it makes it easier, but it's, like, not in a good way. Like... And it'd make Xbox even more dominant than it already is. It like... GameCube and PS2 already have a hard time, like, this... Especially with how many loads it adds, especially if you have, like, an Xbox with, like, good disc, you know, good loads, good laser, like, clean, you know, then you benefit even more. And, like, I just fail to see how this actually benefits the run outside of the initial, like, I don't understand this, so therefore it's cool. Like... Yeah, it might initially look kind of cool until you realize it is just like a handicapped version of having the unlockable task tree, and the way in which it's implemented is toxic. It's not like every time you miss menu, you lose like 2 seconds and it piles up. Like, that'd be fine. But because it can be so drastic, even in the late game, to where you might need to fucking reset. It's like, but like, difficulty automatically makes the run good. Like, half the people who say that do not actually run a very hard speed game. And they just think it because, like, oh my god, the world record looks so cool, bruv. And it's like, but they would never actually put in the effort to, like, actually be that good at the game. Like, do you know anyone who's, like, the run is, like, impossible, so it's really fucking good, it's, like, the best speed game of all time? Do you know anybody who says that and, like, is actually really fucking good at a hard-ass game? Because I don't. And now you might be thinking, why is it not allowed? Well, if you're still wondering it, then Jesus Christ. Over the years, I have learned that being arbitrary is not automatically a bad thing. And the first thing to make me realize that was Sunshine Hacked File. And, okay, yeah, like, you shouldn't... Like, there is such a thing as crossing a line. However, we can justify banning this trick from all tokens and 100%. Because, first of all, we could argue that it is not in the tradition of proper 100% completion in the traditional sense. Second, right, the trick saves so little And the way that it drastically changes the run is basically just removing movement. So it's not actually changing it so much to the point where it's like, oh my god, it's like a completely different run, like, you know. But it changes it enough in a negative way to where we can just kind of ignore it. And then, right, the other thing as well is that because you basically have to mod your Xbox, we could just say, oh, it's not allowed because you have to mod your Xbox. Because, yeah, you know, if you fucking do the most ridiculous thing ever and turn your Xbox into a movie machine in the process, buy burn discs, burn CD files to them, burn, like, an exact amount that you need, extremely strategically, and just barely get movie on there. You know, which by the way, after all that as well, if you want to add, like, any more, like, mods or games to your hard drive, good fucking luck trying to, like, get the storage back down again. You want to play a casual game and make a save file, like, after this? Like, nope. Too bad, fuck you, buy another Xbox. You know, whenever you have people say, like, oh, that's not that bad, bro. I only use my Xbox for movie anyway, but it's like, dude, the Xbox is a good console. You should be able to do more with it. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, and also you need to buy a CD burner if you do not have, like, a computer or laptop that can read CD, which is only becoming more common by the fucking week, by the way. Burn discs are only going to get more expensive as time goes on. And DVD burner thingies. Like, yeah, I have 2 PCs that can read discs, so I'm thinking of the bigger picture here. And I have like 15 burnable thingies as well. But yeah, oh wait, no. For like music discs, I have like 40 or something. I actually have a lot. But yeah, like, it's just, like, hopefully you see the problem here and can understand the justification. Because you basically have to mod your Xbox, we can pretty much just ignore it. Unless there is a way to corrupt your save file on GameCube, I think, but for some reason it doesn't even require the memory card, so I don't know why it doesn't work on Xbox. But if we could find a way to corrupt your file on Xbox, and it was, like, easy, and it didn't cause any other issues or anything, just quick and easy, a couple minutes, and it just works, then that would be different. But as it currently stands, because you have to mod your Xbox scale, this shit is like a 9.5 out of 10 on that scale. So because you pretty much have to mod your Xbox, we can just ignore it. And you could say, well then why is it allowed for any percent? Any percent is separated between Xbox and GameCube/PS2. So it's in its own little corner, not hurting anybody. So, yeah. And finally, in case you're wondering why haven't you, if you're going to prove, you know, if you want to prove your point, then why haven't you done one for 100%? Well, the fact that I fucked up the routing for this multiple times, I posted in the server and nobody even noticed any mistakes with it, by the way. Just also want to point that out. The fact that I fucked this up and that there most likely is a faster route, do you think it'd be easy to also route the 42 extras? Yeah, okay, some of them still gonna be in your face. You know, the sliding and driving ones are kind of whatever too. But magnetic pickup, we get that at 39 extras and we still want to take advantage of it. Like, it'd be hard to, like, make it work. Like, in this stuff split, for example, like on the notepad, I've rubbed it up too early in all tokens because we can't do it early. But in Hundo, you want to do it in late game, but then it's like, what about the token count? But then there are, like, BBBH would be fine. We do BBBH forwards regardless because there's an extra where, like, you have to travel as far as we would without port storage regardless, because if you warp away or die, then the extra despawns. So BBBH is fine. The sliding and driving levels are mostly fine. But then it makes things so complicated. For example, you know how this fucky 3K route works because it's still worth skipping the beginning movement? That might not be the case anymore, legitimately, because what is in between the beginning of 3K and Bungie? An extra. So I have no idea now if it'd be worth, like, you can backtrack to the extra later, but then I don't know if that's worth it. So I'd have to time grabbing the extra when I have after getting guitar, like and you know, using up another load, or if I want to do like, oh no, I'd use it up another load anyway. Actually, no, I could take that time to like warp to probably like SpongeBob or something. I don't know. But anyway, like then I'd have to time the methods of which of collecting the extra backwards from Bungie, and then the whole route of doing it forwards, and that's for one goddamn extra. And there was an extra in between Creek and fucking Bounce and Depression, and I don't know. Is it worth two-framing the Creek token and then loading the Creek and then grabbing the extra and then... Or is it worth, like, grabbing the extra, walking back, doing Creek, then pause storaging to 3K? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. And again, that's 2 extras. And, like, I'm pretty sure a Hundo route would also have Nathelman Area 2 early. I'm almost certain it would. But then you have to do a Cancer strat. There's, a Bash boost that's kind of hard. But the way to make it much easier is to, like, ball during the setup to make it much easier. You wouldn't have access to ball, and therefore just make it way harder and make the early game really reset heavy. And also, you'd probably have to warp from, like, 3K or Depression to now, though, man, so it'd be kind of a cringe warp. So, yeah, it would just be nightmarish. And there's still other extras as well. Again, some of them, a good handful of them would be fine. But with some of them, mainly the one in 3K and the one in Depression, it would just change things pretty drastically. In SCDA, the Toast extra, same sort of thing as BBBH. You want to do, like, practically the entirety of the first area. So I guess you wouldn't pull storage warp to Cirque. So I guess you do Nathelman end level, and then warp to 3, and then... You need to, like, grab the Cirque token early, because, it's, like, you don't get the warp. I mean, you could grab the warp, but then that's another thing we gotta time. If it'd be worth, like, losing a bit of time to grab the Cirque warp, so that we can then do it later, so that we can do pause storage. I don't know. It might be worth it, but it might not be. And keep in mind, by the way, for Hundo, you literally need upgraded throw for SCDA. And if you don't upgrade Cartwheel, because upgraded Cartwheel has a massive hitbox, so you want to upgrade a Cartwheel to, like, hit a shit ton of stuff in BBBH. But then what if you don't have enough for Throw in SCDA? And you also need enough for Slam, unless we move it, like, later in the run, like, SCDA end level, but then we can't... Well, we could do Dennis, maybe, but then... Again, it's, like, there's too much to factor. And when we're trying to, like... Then at the end of it, when we're trying to also do magnetic pickup, I just don't know how this would work. And that's the thing. Like, especially because of, like, BBBH, you still have to do BBBH forwards, like, there's multiple extras that really slow you down. I think pause storage in Hundo would save at most 2 minutes. I don't even think it'd save that much. I did a thing before called Cheat 100%, or Chundo, or Chi Hundo, whatever you want to call it, for fun. I thought it was going to be interesting because I could use upgraded cheats. I could just warp to wherever I want, do whatever I want. It was in some cases, it was kind of interesting. But honestly, because of the starting and driving levels, it was so, like, restrictive on, like, the fun factor. And I roughly estimated, at least at the time, that Cheat Hundo would save, like, upwards of 3 minutes. So when you got pause storage on top of that, like, extra loads, not being able to skip, like, as much movement, like, having to grind for manlies, not being able to two-frame tokens, you know, I reckon it'd save at most 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half. And again, that has the same problem of just saving an annoying amount to where you kind of feel like you have to do it. And it'd be, like, if you, like, the reason as well why I'm still making this video, even though I don't have a Hundo route, I mean, you saw how bad this all tokens one is. Imagine a Hundo one. Imagine it. It'd be such a disaster. Like, it would take... I think to guarantee that, like, the route is good, I think it would take weeks. Like, of my free time, because no one else is gonna do it, so... Of my free time every single day doing that shit. For something that I think 99% of people would agree does not improve the run or the game. Because it's skipping movement, it's skipping strats, you can't do token animation skips anymore, you need to grind for manlies, you need to do a lot of, like, clumped sliding and driving together. Like, I seriously really, really don't think it benefits the run just because it's a little faster. Like, I really don't. And, I mean... I guess that's basically it. I think that's everything I wanted to say. So, the TLDR... we can justify not allowing it because you practically have to mod your Xbox anyway, and even then, like, it's not good tech for Hundo. It just is not. Nobody would ever do it, but even the principle of it just existing, being allowed in the category, like, nope, no fucking chance. So, yeah, it's basically it. Thanks for watching Lamau. My name, D's Nuts.